projects you've got going on right now, and which ones you
Well,
like
I'm
to do?
trying to find more people to interview. And I spend a lot of time looking for people um, because more and more people aren't, seem to not have, they have cell phones, which make them unavailable in directories. There are also, a lot of them are more into the retirement phase. So I haven't interviewed tons, but I'm looking for different areas of Jane and Rob's lives. Unfortunately, I started way too late as far as their lifespans. Very many people I look for are deceased now. But I was able to interview one of the neighbors. They were close friends, and well, actually several. One who was a good friend in the apartment building. So I'm actually going to try to look up a couple nurses and doctors to see if they can tell me anything from Jane's hospital stay. Not the medical thing, I realize they can't share that, but if they're comfortable sharing anything else.
Yeah.
A lot of ESP people, and so I have a list of that. I just discovered a site on the internet, thanks to Sue Watkins, that has scanned a lot of the smaller New York Historical Society papers. They're little newspapers, and I was able to find some articles about Jane's family, particularly up in Saratoga Springs area.
Mm.
And so now I'm going to use those dates and see if I can get it developed a little bit more through finding articles in the the Saratogian paper. So I'm always on the lookout for articles like that. I want to go to the New York Public Library where the Yaddo papers from Saratoga Springs are. That was their art colony, kind of, where writers went, and Jane was invited there fairly young, and I want to see if she signed the guest book. I mean, I'm in contact with a relative that doesn't seem very interested in, I think Jane's work unnerves her a little bit because she's in a traditional religion.
Yeah.
But I'm trying to get photographs of Jane's family on her dad's side, which Jane didn't have.
Hmm.
So, and photos from anyone or tapes from people. So I'm always on the lookout. I find people and they don't always want to give it to me, so I just keep them on the back burner and then trust that it'll work out somehow in framework too, that if I don't get it, it at least won't go to waste. It will show up at some point for other people to get. So, and I'm working on this giant spreadsheet so that I'll have the dates for everything that's dated in the collection at Yale. That'll help people to find different periods. Occasionally there's a page missing from something. It's like, well, this page maybe from Jane's journals or something. She numbered it 2 and 4, and there's obviously something missing. So is that page 3? Did that get lost, or is that in another file? Because I have occasionally found something in a different file. And I can't move them around, but I can make note of it on a spreadsheet or something.
Yeah. What would you like to see happen with the material?
With the material? Well, eventually it will be in public domain. And then I would obviously the programs will be changing all the way up to that, but then I would really like to see it all scanned on the internet, because you should see the handwriting, but maybe also have my typed work, which is easier to search. Because Jane used all kinds of abbreviations, so it would be difficult. I spelled out words that she just abbreviated. So.
Oh, okay. And you have had a lot of success tracking down family history.
Some, although Barry Noonan actually did some genealogy for Rob, and he's shared that with me.
Hmm. Okay.
So, but I have found some other things. I also helped Barry when he was looking for a marriage license or something, and I was going to Saratoga Springs. I just went and got it for him. So there's a lot of cooperation between different people in the community.
Yeah. What projects do you have still that you would like to work on?
Well, just the ones I'm doing now. I'm only up to 1980 in the fan mail, about halfway through. And in that, I'm not typing all of the letters for a lot of reasons. One being, it's very difficult to read a lot of the handwriting.
Yeah.
But I am doing a spreadsheet so that people can find their own letters, because I've helped some people already do that. So so I list the name and city and state and country they're from, then a very, very brief description, which doesn't do credit to them.
Yeah.
And then if it's from an ESP class member, a professor who visited, somebody who dropped in and is saying, oh, I visited you 2 years ago, thanks a lot. You know, I didn't thank you sooner, and then I try to see if Jane mentioned them in her journals to tie it in, which sometimes she did and a lot of times she didn't. I think I'm missing the question. I think I'm...
No, that's okay. That's okay. I was just trying to get a sense of what other projects you've got in your head that, yeah, I think I'd like to.
Basically, as long as I'm alive, I'm going to be working on this because it just keeps spreading out. Certainly, for instance, I'd like, with the ESP classes, they had somebody who taped them, and, well, they had several people tape them, and then the transcriptions. Most of the tapes, as soon as Seth quit, they turned the tape recorder off because it was just Jane.
Yeah.
Or it was conversation in the group. Well, I think it adds a lot if you have more of the class itself. So there are some tapes that have some of that on. So I'm trying to find any tapes I can find. Go back, this is a massive project. Go back through the ESP class transcripts and add anything I can from other tapes. And also keeping a record of where that's come from. So that it's like, this is what's at Yale, this is, from this source or that source. So that's a really horrendous project, and in realizing what it is, I'm so thankful that Rob did the transcribing himself, or did the notes and stuff, because otherwise it would be a much bigger project. But I checked the books against the sessions at Yale, and that could probably be redone, just to check for accuracy. So there's things just double checking myself too. So, and then I don't know, things just keep showing up. Oh, it would be good to do this. Oh yeah, I didn't think of that.
Yeah.
So, and if I have, I've really learned to trust myself in this project, because when I open something and I think, I can't read Rob's shorthand, how am I going to do this? I just ask for help before I go to bed, and then I wake up and get answers on how to handle it, and it just gets easier and easier the more you do it. So it's great.
What's your favorite material? Do you have favorite sections or favorite books?
It's usually what I'm reading now. I love the personal sessions, though, that a lot of people aren't that crazy about. And I see them as a case study where some people tell me, oh, it's all about Jane's symptoms, and Seth is telling them the same things over and over again. I see such intricacies the more I look at it, and so I really, really like those. And when I'm feeling my self-esteem needs a little, kick, then I go to the ESP class sessions. And I love the early sessions, and I love all the books. I mean, I love Unknown Reality. Well, I just like them all, I guess. But whatever ones I've noticed recently that Seth mentions often your level of understanding or your level of awareness, and I'm seeing that that's exactly why the books keep expanding and getting. That's why when we read them, we keep seeing more and more in there, because our level of understanding, not a level 1, 2, 3, 4, but the more we use it, the more we get some of those intricacies. He's so smart. Jane's so smart, and Rob. Rob was also a big part of it.
I've often wondered if Seth either deliberately or undeliberately loaded the material. In other words, I noticed, and I've had other people tell me this too, I'll be reading a section and particular images will come to my mind. And I'm wondering, is that my imagination going, or is the material loaded? Did he, you understand what I'm saying? Have you ever thought of that? Is it?
Well, it's interesting because many people have mentioned to me that they want to write a book to make Seth more understandable to other people. And I've always had a reaction against that. And I wasn't sure why, but I think it's because Seth is writing it on so many different levels. There's so much in there, and he did mention to Jane and Rob in one of the sessions that he didn't like being paraphrased, I think, as I paraphrase him all the time. But as far as, I think in books, he was speaking to a specific incident, which I don't recall right now. And I thought, oh, that's really interesting. But in that, he mentioned, you can tell that people who are barely literate are getting something from these books. And when I look at the fan mail, there are people who are barely literate, who are saying, I don't understand anything in the book, but this is the best thing I've ever seen. And so I know he's speaking to us on so many levels. And of course, as he often says, we wouldn't need the books. It's just that some of us seem to need them. I know we all kind of know. So so I think definitely that's true. I don't get images or anything. I just, but I do feel like I understand them on such a different basis all the time. The more I deal with the material in my life. So if it doesn't make sense and you kind of play with the idea, see what shows up, then it's like, oh, I think this is what he meant, maybe.
Do you have dreams? Like if you're working, do you keep a dream journal? And
I do. I'm not a prolific dreamer. But I'm always, I don't know if it's unusual or not, but I'm always at conferences and hotels in my dreams. I very rarely am in houses or apartments. And I did a lot of conferences for my job before I did a lot of Seth conferences and stuff, but and I do, but mostly I realize that I don't always remember the dream, but if I have an issue, I wake up with a solution or an impulse to do something or direction. So I trust, I use dreams for that a lot, for an insight on things. And you know, of course, I mean, I do dream, so.
What kind of things are you working on in sort of your personal growth?
Okay, well, I have, most everything seems to go back to feelings of worth. Not as much as it used to, certainly. Also, safe universe. You know, how safe am I? Those are kind of, and trust. That's kind of a big one with. But I'm really learning more all the time that, and this has been in my journal for years, just don't try to control, just allow things in. And the more I work with the ideas of Framework 2 and the magical approach,
Yeah.
the more I'll just leave it to Framework 2. I don't have to, I'll just have a broad parameter.
Yeah.
I don't have to have specifics, and certainly not specifics as to how that shows up in my life. And it just, it works that way. And I do that with, I think that's how I've done my research, kind of,
Yeah.
is not only for the support, but just, you know, for what I do next or something. I don't have big lists of this, it should be done in this order. I just go by the seat of my pants. And kind of trust that the people I'm finding are the ones I should be finding at that point. And I think that happens.
Yeah.
So.
What would you like to say to people 200 years from now that are
Ooh.
grateful for all the effort you've put in? What would you like to tell them?
I would like to tell them that I had totally selfish motives, and I did it just for the fun of doing it. And I also think selfish is not a bad word, because we're always doing everything for ourselves.
Yeah, sure.
But that I hope that I picked the right things to do, and also that I think my future self, who is researching the papers right now, has been egging me on and giving me hints as to what they would like to see.
Yeah.
So,
That's
but
good.
yeah, but it's a project that I'm doing only because it's so much fun. And yes, I would like it to help people, but it's really because it's fun.
That's cool. That's cool.
So, well, thank you, Winter.
Okay. No, thank you. Thank you. I know there's a lot of people that wish they could personally thank you. And,
Oh, I always think that's so funny.
so maybe I can thank you on
Oh.
behalf of them.
Well, everybody is very welcome, because I really want to thank everybody who makes use of it or who's helped me.
Right.
So.
All right. Thanks for taking time, Eric.
Yes, it was fun.
All right.
It was fun.
Okay.
Okay.
All right.